Hello everyone. Today's topic is microbial interactions and myself Dr. A. Madhuri, Assistant Professor of Microbiology from Government Degree College for Women, Begumpet. Now, today let us study about microbial interactions. So what are these microbial interactions? As we humans, we interact with each other, we talk with each other, we help each other. Like in the same way, microbes also interact with each other. There can be positive interactions or negative interactions. So the interactions among microbial populations are of two types: interactions within a single microbial population or interactions among diverse microbial population. So we know very well that microorganisms are of different types, and they exist in the form of populations. So if they are interacting within the same population, this uh, they, this is a different kind of interaction, and there can also be interactions among different types of microbial populations. So the microbial interactions can be within the population or among different microbial populations. Now, interactions within a single microbial population. If there is an interaction within a single microbial population, we can see that these two types of effects can be seen. This is the positive interaction and this is the negative interaction. What happens if there is a positive interactions in the microbial population? This is the population density. Here in this graph you can see this is the population density and this is the growth rate, right? If there is a positive interaction, the growth rate and population density both increases, growth rate increases, and after a certain period, growth rate will will be stable and population density will increase. Okay, so overall there will be positive effect in the population. Coming to the negative interaction, the population density will gradually decrease. The positive interactions within a population are called as cooperation. Like we cooperate, humans cooperate with each other. These microorganisms will also cooperate with each other, and these positive interactions are called as cooperation. Cooperation occurs within a population because the semi-permeable cell membranes of microbes are imperfect and tend to leak low molecular weight metabolic intermediates that are essential for biosynthesis and growth. Why we are when we are talking about interaction within the single population, single microbial population, these they help by releasing some low molecular weight metabolic compounds out of the cell, which can be absorbed by other cells which are also having semi-permeable cell membranes, and these low molecular weight compounds can be helpful for their growth and biosynthesis. Next to the negative interactions, we have seen graph in the last slide. Negative interactions within the microbial populations are called as competition because microbes use the same substrates and occupy same ecological niche. Means these negative interactions, they are not cooperating with each other, or in other terms there is a kind of competition in the population. These microbes use same substrates and same ecological niche. Maybe this competition is due to the common substrates and common ecological niche of the microorganisms in the population. Now, interactions between different microbial populations. So, within the population, we have seen cooperation and competition. Now, coming to the interactions among different microbial population, it can be symbiosis. First thing here, symbiosis means sim means together, bio means life, means in other words, symbiosis means living together. Partners of the association are called as symbionts. So, both the um, organisms which are involved in this interaction, that is symbiosis, are called as symbionts. These are the types of interactions. This among different microbial populations. Neutralism, population A and population B. Neutralism means both do not show any effect on each other. This is showing nil effect, and this is also showing nil effect. So there is no effect on each other. Next is commensalism. In commensalism type of interaction, population A is not having any effect, but population B is showing positive effect. Means when these two populations are interacting with each other, among them one of the population will get benefited, and whereas the other population remain neutral. It won't get benefited or it won't get affected negatively. This type of interaction is called as commensalism. And the third one is synergism. Synergism, in other words, it is also called as proto cooperation. Synergism means proto cooperation. Here, as the word cooperation is there, both the populations are getting benefited. And next is mutualism or symbiosis. In mutualism also, both the populations will get benefited. They will exchange the nutrients or other um, components. Next is competition. Competition is a negative interaction. Here both the populations will get negatively affected. And amensalism means one population will act upon another population. If this is attacking this population, this will be negatively affected. In turn, the attacking population or this population may get benefited, or sometimes it may not get benefited or affected. So the effect is neutral on the first population. Okay, Mutualism means this is attacking the other population. Next is predation. Predation means eating. One population is being eaten by another population. Here, if this is the predator, this will be positively affected, and if this is the prey, this will be negatively affected. And parasitism. Here, parasitism means here also there is a negative effect on one population and positive effect on another population. Parasitism means one population is um, infecting other population. Okay, so here 0 means no effect, plus means positive effect, and minus means negative effect. Here we have seen different types of interactions and the nature of effect on both the populations. So coming to the next interaction after symbiosis, that is neutralism. Neutralism implies a lack of interaction. Means neutralism itself means there is no interaction between these populations possible in between extremely different populations within metabolic variations. Now where it is possible this kind of interaction or neutralism, it is possible between extremely different populations, means they are not related to each other. That is why there is no interaction between these two populations. Here one microbial population does not sense the presence of another. Here they cannot know that a different other population is also existing in the same location. Okay, they cannot even sense the presence of other microbial population. It occurs where population densities are very low. When the number of microorganisms are very low in the nature, there won't be any problem for food or place. In such situations, many if different populations may also exist, they won't affect each other until there is no scarcity for food or place or further survival. An example for neutralism is a root parasite killed the plant so that the microbes on the same plant leaf are killed. Here there is no direct contact between two. Mutualism is a root parasite, that is microbe. It killed the plant so that the microbes on the same plant leaf are killed. Here there is no direct contact between two. Means a parasite is killing the plant, but after the plant is killed, the microbes on the same plant leaf will be killed. Next is commensalism. In this type of interaction, one population derives benefits while the other remains unaffected. The organism that gets benefit is called as commensal, and the other organism unaffected as the host. Okay, in commensalism, we have to remember that one will be benefited and the other will not be affected. Other remains unaffected, means one will be plus and the other one will be zero. So the organism that is getting benefited is called as commensal, and the other organism which is unaffected, which is not affected by this interaction, is called as host. Okay, the organism, one will be positively affected and the other will be unaffected. Positively affected one is called as commensal, and unaffected one will be called as host. In this interaction, the substance produced by the host organism enhances the growth of the commensal. There are usually the growth promoting substances like enzymes, vitamins, auxins, etc. So how there is a this commensal is being carried out means the organism, the host organism will produce and release some growth promoting substances such as enzymes, vitamins, auxins, etc. So these substances will promote the growth of commensal while not affecting the host organism, because host itself is producing, so it is not affected, and it does not require also when the these growth promoting substances are in excess, they are released out. So it doesn't have any negative effect or positive effect by the things or growth promoting substances which are being released out. So host is not affected, and as they are required by the commensal, they are take this commensal organism, it is taking up that compounds and it is growing. So commensal is positively affected. This type of interaction occurs naturally in soil because many microbes are capable of producing the growth promoting substances. So in the soil, many microorganisms will naturally produce growth promoting substances. So this type of interaction is commonly seen in soil. Chlorella pyrenoidosa produced the growth promoting substances which enhances the growth of pseudomonas and xanthomonas. For example, this organism, for example, Chlorella pyrenoidosa, it is producing growth promoting substances which are which is helpful in enhancing the growth of pseudomonas and xanthomonas bacteria. Okay, so this here we have learned about commensalism, where one population is neutral and the other one is positively affected. Okay, positively affected population is called as commensal, and the neutral one or unaffected population is called as the host. Host will be producing some growth promoting substances which will be taken up by the commensal for its growth, right? Next, similarly, Flavobacterium brevis, here this is also example of commensalism. Flavobacterium brevis is producing or excreting some growth factors, that is cysteine, which is taken up by the Legionella pneumophila. So Legionella, it requires cysteine. The same compound is released by Flavobacterium brevis So it is helping this Legionella pneumophila to take up that cysteine from the nature and from the surroundings and utilize for its growth. In nature, facultative anaerobes use oxygen and lower the oxygen tension and thus allowing obligate anaerobes to grow and flourish. So one more beautiful example in nature is the presence of facultative anaerobes and obligate anaerobes together. Okay, so when these facultative anaerobes, first you have to understand the terms facultative anaerobes and obligate anaerobes. Obligate anaerobe means basically it does not require oxygen in an aerobe. Okay, it does not require oxygen for their growth, right? Facultative anaerobes means obligate anaerobes means compulsorily they do not need oxygen. Okay, obligate anaerobes, they 100% they do not require oxygen and they cannot survive in the presence of oxygen, obligate anaerobes. Whereas facultative anaerobes means some relaxation will be there in terms of oxygen. Okay, as obligate anaerobes are getting killed in the presence of oxygen, facultative anaerobes they won't be getting killed in the presence of oxygen. In addition to that, they will have some additional mechanism to use a little amount of oxygen. Okay, so in other words, facultative anaerobes are those organisms which can act as aerobes if conditions force them to do so. Okay, facultative anaerobes means they are not strict anaerobes, they are acting as aerobes sometimes. Okay, so when these facultative anaerobes and obligate anaerobes, when they existed together, what is happening? If there is oxygen in that surroundings, then facultative anaerobes can utilize that oxygen, lowering the oxygen tension and thus allowing obligate anaerobes to grow and flourish. As we have already discussed, obligate anaerobes cannot grow in the presence of oxygen. If any time if there is a oxygen in their surroundings, it will be a danger, it will be poison for obligate anaerobes. But in turn, if there are any facultative anaerobes in their surroundings, they can utilize this oxygen as they have the mechanism. They can utilize this oxygen and they can help obligate anaerobes to grow and flourish in their surroundings. Next interaction is symbiosis. In as we have seen, symbiosis means the two organisms living together or two organisms will be benefited with each other. Here, best example is lichens. Lichens are the association of fungus and algae together, and here fungus is the host, and algae it will carry out photosynthesis. Algae or cyanobacteria, this is called as symbiont, and fungus is called as host. Fungus, it is a ectosymbiont, provides minerals by releasing lichen acids that dissolve substrates, release some amounts of phosphorus, sulfur, other minerals, and obtain water from air. So these in these lichens, the symbionts are termed as ectosymbiont and endosymbiont. Ectosymbiont means the partner which is present on the outer side, and endosymbiont means which is present on the inner side, right? So fungus is the ectosymbiont. It helps the algae by releasing some acids, and which helps these acids help in dissolving substrates such as rock or other compounds where they are present, and it help these acids will help in reducing some amount of phosphorus, sulfur, and other minerals which are required for the growth of both algae and fungi. Whereas the endosymbiont, that is the algae, it will carry out photosynthesis by taking up atmospheric carbon dioxide and converting it into carbohydrates. This food material will be supplied to fungi. Resulting symbiotic organisms can grow attached to rocks, tree trunks, other unlikely habitats. So, due to this combination, they can survive or they can grow on rocks or trees or anywhere. This combination is helping them to survive in such um, hard substrates. If they won't stay together, they can't survive on these substrates. Next is the best example for symbiosis is nitrogen fixation. This symbiotic interaction between bacteria and the roots of leguminous plants can be seen here. The bacteria involved is Rhizobium species, and it is interacting with the roots of leguminous plants. Example: alfalfa, clover, peas, beans, etc. So rhizobacteria will be present in the root nodules of leguminous plant. Bacteria provide ammonia by nitrogen fixation. Plants provide nutrients and shelter and anaerobic micro environments. Okay, so bacteria, what it is doing, it will provide ammonia. Means here you can see this diagram. This is the rhizobium bacteria which is interacting with the root hairs. So the bacteria will enter into the root hairs through infection thread. It will enter into the cortical cells and it will divide there and form a root nodule. Here these bacteria are present in a bacteroids. They form bacteroids and the bacteroids perform nitrogen fixation. So in the process of nitrogen fixation, here in this picture we can see the root nodules. Okay, so in the process of nitrogen fixation, what happens is the bacteria will take up the atmospheric nitrogen, that is N2 or N triple bond N, from the environment, and it will convert this nitrogen into ammonia. Okay, by a series of reactions, by a series of equations. Right. So what happens in this equation is N2 will get added by hydrogen, it gets reduced. It gets converted into hydrazine, then ultimately to ammonia. So this ammonia is provided by the bacteria to the plant. Next, plant provides nutrients and shelter and anaerobic micro environments to the plant. Plant is providing nutrients and shelter and for the bacteria, and bacteria is providing ammonia to the plant. So allows growth in nitrogen poor soils. So what is the benefit of this bacillus or rhizobium species here is it is allowing the plant to grow in nitrogen poor soils where nitrogen is not sufficient. These bacteria are helping the plants to get the nitrogen and they can grow properly in that soils. Next, there are non-symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria. Example, Azotobacter. So Azotobacter is a free living nitrogen fixing microorganism. It can survive freely in the soil. It doesn't require any host, but it is also able to fix nitrogen. Also, other types of symbionts, example, Frankia, that live in alder roots create nodules. Here we can see symbiosis between other organisms, also such as Frankia and alder. So same thing here, bacteria and legumes, we can see. These are the bacteroids, symbionts. This is a root nodule formation. Here we can see the nodules. Next interaction is mutualism. Mutualism means both the organisms will get benefited with each other. Here, example, we can see coral reefs. The corals get food and the algae get protection. In coral reefs, here the interaction between corals and the algae. Algae is giving food for the corals and coral is giving protection for the algae, the seabeds. Next best example for mutualism is ruminants and resident microbes. Ruminants are the herbivorous animals with four-chambered stomach, that is a rumen. Okay, so ruminants are example cows, buffaloes. They are the herbivores. Herbivores means they feed upon plants, and they are having a stomach, four-chambered stomach, in which rumen will be there. Okay, these ruminants eat grasses containing mainly cellulose, but lack enzyme to digest cellulose. So these animals or ruminants, they are eating grass, right? So this grass will be made of mainly cellulose, and these herbivores are lacking enzymes for digesting this cellulose. Okay, so for digesting of cellulose, cellulase enzyme is required, but these organisms do not have that cellulase enzyme for the digestion of cellulose in their stomach. So, in turn, bacteria and protists, which are present in the rumen, they produce cellulases enzyme. They hydrolyze cellulose to sugar, which is then fermented. Okay, so how these ruminants are getting cellulase enzyme? It is produced by bacteria and protists, or the microorganisms which are present in the stomach, okay, which are present in the stomach or rumen of the herbivore, are able to produce um, these cellulase enzymes. So the cellulase enzyme, in turn, it will break the cellulose, hydrolyze cellulose into sugars. By breaking, cellulose is also a polymer of glucose units. So when this cellulose is broken down, it will release sugar units, so sugars. So these sugars then, which can, they can be fermented. Right? After fermentation, it may release methane or from methanogens or organic acids. So sugars will be fermented and can be converted into methane. So methane production is done by methanogens. Methanogens means, gen means production. The microorganisms which can generate methane are called as methanogens. And the next is organic acids. By fermentation, sugars can be converted into organic acids such as acetate, propionate, butyrate, etc. Now acids are absorbed by R into bloodstream, provide source of energy. So these acids will be absorbed by ruminants into the bloodstream. Whatever products are formed in the stomach by breaking or by digestion of cellulose will be absorbed into the bloodstream. So then they will provide energy to the animal. Next, methane must be released by belching. It is 2 liters per minute. This is bloat when cows can't belch. Okay, so if whenever this methane is produced in the stomach or rumen of the cows or herbivores, they can, they have to release it by a process called as belching. If they cannot belch or if they cannot expel this methane gas out of their body, they can, it can lead to disease called as bloat. Now, microbial population totally anaerobic achieves highest density of bacteria. Now, when the rumen of the herbivore, when they grow, they can achieve highest density means the number of bacteria can be increased to a higher density, up to 10 to the power of 12 cells per ml. Next is cellulose digestion is slow process. Animals regurgitate rumen contents back to mouth to facilitate breakdown, that is called as chewing cud. So often we see these cows or buffaloes, they will be sitting at one place and they regurgitate the food. It means that they take the food back from the rumen into the mouth. Whatever food is present in the rumen, they will take it back into the mouth and again it will chew. That is called as chewing cud. So this regurgitation process will also enhance the digestion of this um, cellulose content of the food. So here we understood that ruminants are herbivores which have a four-chamber stomach in which rumen is there, and resident microbes. Through food they will be eating some microorganisms also. These are called as resident microbes. They are present in the rumen. So when these herbivores are lacking enzymes for cellulose digestion, their main food is cellulose containing food, but they do not have cellulase enzyme. So the cellulase enzyme will be produced by resident bacteria, right? And when this enzyme degrades the cellulose, it it will form sugars. These sugars can be converted again into methane or organic acids. So whatever products are formed, they will be absorbed into the organic acids. For example, they will be absorbed into the bloodstream, which gives energy for the animal, whereas methane should be expelled out of the body. If it is not able to expel out, it may lead to some blood disease in the animal, and in this way microbial population will increase in the um, herbivore rumen, and the population may again go up to 10 to the power of 12 cells per ml. And the cellulose is a slow digestion process, so animals regurgitate the rumen contents back into the mouth so that uh, it can be digested very efficiently. The regurgitation is also called as chewing cud. Here you can see this is the four chambered stomach. First one is rumen, second is reticulum, third is omasum, fourth is epomasum. Okay, first the food will enter into the rumen, then reticulum, then omasum and epomasum. Okay, this is the herbivore. We can also call them as ruminants. And microbes are present in the rumen. They will carry out the digestion process in this rumen. A large chamber of this stomach is called as rumen. Next is parasitism. Parasitism here means one organism, usually physically smaller of the two, benefits and the other host is harmed. Parasite means one feeding on the another. Okay, the one which is smaller is called as parasite. It is usually benefited, and the other which is big is called as host, which is usually harmed here. So one is benefited and the other one is harmed. What is the example for parasitism? We can see many examples, like when one organism feeding on the other organism. Next interaction is predation. Here one organism eats another organism. Example, herbivores eat plants, carnivores eat animals. Okay, here if you take the micro example for microorganisms, there are examples that is Vampirovibrios species feed on eukaryotic chlorella cells and Vampirococcus, which sucks the cytoplasm out of Chromatium bacteria. Okay, so these organisms, the bacteria Vampirovibrio, it is feeding on chlorella cells, and Vampirococcus is sucking the cytoplasm of Chromatium bacteria. These are the examples of microbial predation, where one organism is preying on the other organism. So let us revise what we have learned here. So we have seen microbial population, microbial interactions. They are of two types, within the population or out of the population. So within the population, we have seen positive interactions and negative interactions. And coming to the interactions between different microbial populations, we have seen different types. One is neutralism, second is commensalism, synergism, mutualism, competition, amensalism. Here, amensalism means and a kind of antibiotic action. Okay, we have seen examples of one organism producing a compound which is harmful for another organism. Okay, antibiotics, for example, if X organism is producing some, A organism is producing some antibiotic, it is not affected. This organism will not be affected, but the other organism will be definitely killed by the antibiotic. Okay, so this example is for Amensilism, and we have seen predation, and the other one is parasitism. Okay, in neutralism, we have seen when two different populations where there is no scarcity of food and space, they do not even sense the presence of another population in that area. So there won't be any interaction between two populations. That is neutralism. Coming to the commensalism, commensalism means here one is acting as the commensal and the other one is acting as the host. Okay, the one which is getting benefited is commensal, and one which is not benefited or which is neutral is called as a host, right? So this organism will release some growth promoting substances which will be helpful for other organism. It is not affecting the status of the first organism. Next, synergism is again nothing but cooperative cooperation. Here these two organisms, they'll be producing some they'll be releasing some substances into the nature which are helpful for both the microorganisms. And mutualism is a symbiosis. We have seen examples of algae and fungi, that is lichens, where algae and fungi are staying together. And we have seen symbiosis in nitrogen fixing rhizobacterium, rhizobium, and leguminous plants, where nodules are formed for nitrogen fixation. The bacteria is giving nitrogen to ammonia to host, and the plant is giving food for the bacteria. Next, we have seen competition. Here, if this kind of interaction can be seen when there is a scarcity for food or space. So both the organisms or both the populations will compete with each other, which can have negative impact on both the populations. Next is amensilism. We have seen antibiotic producing microorganisms can come under this category. And predation, one organism will prey on the other organism, means one organism will eat the other organism. And coming to the parasitism, parasitism means one organism will parasite on exist as a parasite on other organism, means they will survive on other organism. Best example is lice in the human head, and other malarial parasite which feeds on blood of humans, and it will cause disease, and etc. So here we have learned different types of interactions between microorganisms. Hope you got the concept clear. Thank you.